How did an innocent man spend nearly 4 decades imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit? In 1985, Alan Hall found himself at the centre of one of New Zealand's most troubling criminal cases. Wrongfully convicted for the death of Arthur Easton, Hall's case became an example of how investigative bias, manipulated evidence, and a misunderstanding of neurodiversity, specifically Alan's undiagnosed autism, can lead to profound injustice and lifelong consequences. This video delves into the systemic failures that led to Alan Hall's wrongful conviction, highlighting critical lessons about fairness, accountability, and compassion in our justice systems. Additionally, we'll cover how Alan's autism played a critical but misunderstood role, providing key insights into the necessity of recognizing and accommodating neurodivergence in criminal investigations. On the evening of October 25, 1985, tragedy struck the Easton family in Papakura, Auckland. Arthur Easton was attacked and lost his life during a home invasion. His 2 teenage sons, though injured, survived the attack and described their assailant as a tall, strongly built Maori male, approximately 6 feet tall. A neighbour who witnessed the attacker fleeing the scene corroborated this description. Alan Hall, however, did not match these eyewitness descriptions. Hall was a slender European man standing only about 5 foot 7 inches, and significantly, he was left-handed, unlike the right-handed attacker described by witnesses. Despite these clear inconsistencies, police quickly became fixated on Hall as their primary suspect. Police tunnel vision became a critical flaw in the investigation. Officers latched onto Hall due to his admission that he once owned a bayonet similar to the murder weapon. Rather than objectively assessing evidence, detectives aggressively interrogated Hall for extended periods, without legal representation. Alan Hall's undiagnosed autism spectrum disorder exacerbated the differences he faced during these intense interrogations. Investigators misinterpreted his confusion, anxiety, and inconsistent responses as indicators of guilt, rather than recognizing these behaviors as manifestations of his neurodivergence. This exploitation of vulnerability would play a significant role in shaping the tragic narrative that followed. The investigation was further compromised by serious misconduct and evidence tampering. Critical witness statements were deliberately altered to remove references to the attacker's Maori ethnicity, misleadingly framing Alan Hall as the likely perpetrator. Police also fabricated evidence linking Hall to a blue sweatshirt allegedly worn by the attacker, despite clear documentation proving Hall had purchased the garment months after the crime. Additionally, authorities concealed vital information about viable alternative suspects who matched eyewitness descriptions far better than Hall. These unethical practices not only sabotaged Hall's defense, but also highlighted systemic failings within law enforcement and prosecutorial procedures. These manipulated evidentiary practices set the stage for a deeply flawed trial in 1986. Prosecutors presented the jury with a skewed narrative, asserting that Hall was unequivocally guilty while omitting crucial exculpatory evidence. Misrepresentations included falsely stating that no alternative suspects existed and presenting altered witness statements as factual. This suppression of critical evidence profoundly influenced the jury's perception, ultimately leading to Hall's wrongful conviction. Alan Hall's wrongful imprisonment had devastating personal and psychological consequences. Over the years, Hall endured multiple unsuccessful appeals, each rejection further entrenching his unjust incarceration and compounding the trauma he experienced. His family, particularly his mother, Shirley Hall, fought tirelessly for justice, investing considerable emotional and financial resources into proving his innocence. Tragically, Shirley passed away before seeing her son exonerated, a heartbreaking loss compounded by the ongoing miscarriage of justice. The years stolen from Alan Hall and the emotional toll taken on his family highlight the deep human cost of wrongful convictions. Alan Hall's undiagnosed autism was central to the misrepresentations that led to his conviction. His autistic traits, including difficulty in social interactions, anxiety, and literal interpretation of questions, were misunderstood by law enforcement as deceptive behavior. Police and prosecutors, unfamiliar with neurodivergent communication, viewed his inconsistencies and confusion under intense questioning as proof of guilt. Had Hall's autism been recognized and properly accommodated, the investigative approach could have significantly differed, potentially preventing the miscarriage of justice. This case underscores the urgent need for law enforcement training in recognizing and interacting appropriately with neurodivergent individuals, thereby safeguarding against similar injustices. The injustice inflicted upon Alan Hall was finally rectified in 2022 when the Supreme Court of New Zealand formally acquitted him, acknowledging the grave miscarriages of justice in his case. This landmark decision prompted unprecedented accountability measures. In 2024, criminal charges were brought against key individuals involved in the original investigation, including police officers and prosecutors, for their roles in fabricating and concealing evidence. Additionally, Alan Hall received a historic formal apology and significant financial compensation from the government, recognizing the profound injustice he endured. These actions represented critical steps towards rectifying systemic failures and prompting accountability within New Zealand's criminal justice system. Despite these significant advancements, important questions remain unresolved. Most notably, the true perpetrator of Arthur Easton's murder has never been identified, and the investigation into this tragic crime remains open. Alan Hall's case highlights persistent vulnerabilities in criminal justice systems, underscoring the critical need for greater transparency, accountability, and reform. His ordeal serves as a reminder that systemic weaknesses can lead to devastating miscarriages of justice, emphasizing the urgency for continuous vigilance and improvement within our judicial institutions. In reflecting upon Alan Hall's harrowing experience, it becomes clear that meaningful reform in justice systems worldwide is crucial. The systemic failures observed, biased investigations, evidence manipulation, misunderstanding neurodiversity, and prosecutorial misconduct must be addressed proactively. Alan Hall's story is a call to action, urging us to advocate for stronger safeguards, better training, and a more compassionate approach to criminal justice. Only through committed and thoughtful reform can we ensure that justice truly serves all individuals fairly and equitably. Every crime has a story. Every story has a lesson.